So we are going to kind of start the day by introducing sort of our colleges and what we specifically look for in a portfolio, whether that's for admission or for scholarship. And then at the end, we're going to be taking questions from you guys. So you can feel free to ask them in the chat ahead of time if you want to, and we'll sort of direct at the end, or you can just ask us at the end too. So I'm going to turn it back over to Anna Marie.
Super. Hi again, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. If you're here in this session, you're probably thinking about pursuing art in college or having that as part of your college future in some way. So we wanted to highlight this slide to just let you know there are so many different ways that you can pursue art in your higher education. Maybe you're looking at traditional art schools. Maybe you're looking at art schools that focus on just one type of art or a handful of art forms. Or maybe you're thinking, I want to do art, but I want to be at a large university. So you can look at art colleges within larger universities. There are also liberal arts colleges, as the school that I represent, small colleges that offer a variety of majors, but as part of that can include majors in the arts. So long story short, there are a lot of options for you if you're thinking about, I love art and I want art to be part of my future, but how do I work that into my college experience? Next slide. Great, thanks. So thinking about your timeline, especially if you're a high school senior, I know there's a lot on your plate, thinking about college applications, getting your portfolio ready, just reflecting on your high school experience and your art experience. So just make sure that you give yourself time to think about the whole process, look at requirements, see what's needed, give yourself time to prepare, keep a handy dandy Excel spreadsheet, I think is a good way to keep track of certain deadlines, and every school is going to be a little bit different with what they require. So just think about timeline and think about requirements. And all right. So I represent Muhlenberg College. We are a small private liberal arts college in Allentown, Pennsylvania, hour and a half outside of New York City, hour outside of Philly. So you have access to these two amazing large East Coast cities, but also Allentown itself is a large city. We are Pennsylvania's third largest city. It's about 100,000 people. We are also the fastest growing city in Pennsylvania. And we're a small school, so just under 2,000 students. Average class size is 19 students, and student to faculty ratio is 10:1. So at Muhlenberg, you're going to get the benefits of a small college, but also in an urban and suburban setting. And of course, access to the amazingness that comes with places like New York City and Philadelphia. And Allentown itself also has a really strong art scene. When I visited, I went to the art museum that's downtown. There's the art murals. It's a lovely place to be if you're really passionate about the arts. Next slide. I want to highlight our areas of study. I think this gives you a sense of just how diverse what we offer in terms of academics. So as a liberal arts college, we offer majors in the arts, but also the sciences, the social sciences, and the humanities. And you can see where I highlighted our art majors, our majors within the arts, right? So art history, art studio, dance, but also film studies and music, studio art, theater, creative and professional writing, documentary story making. So there's a variety of ways, whatever kind of creativity you bring or whatever kind of arts you're interested in, there's a lot that you can pursue at Muhlenberg. What I also want to highlight here is Muhlenberg is a kind of place where I think students find that maybe you're interested in art, but you also want to pursue something else, like be pre-med or business or study math. So it's a place where about 30% of our students double major. Next slide. So what I'm about to talk here about the art portfolio is going to be different than, or maybe a little bit different than what you hear at the next two schools. And the reason why is because students do not need to be admitted into our art department, and our portfolio is not required for admission. So students are admitted into art department through the regular Muhlenberg College admissions process. So you do not need to submit a portfolio for admission, but a portfolio can be helpful to improve your chances of admission to the college. And secondly, if you want to be considered for talent-based scholarships, this is merit aid that ranges from $1,000 to $4,000 each year. If you want to be considered for those, then you would need to submit a portfolio. You do not have to be an art major to be considered for these grants, but you should seriously be interested in art and have plans to continue studying art in college. And you can see there the instructions for what we need for that portfolio. So I will now turn it over to my next colleague.
Hey everyone, I'm Juliet with Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design, also known as REMCAD. We are here in the Denver area. So we are the premier art and design college that's located in Colorado, just down the hills from you. If you could go to the next slide. And we were founded in 1963 on the program illustration. Think about arts in 1963 has, they've changed quite a bit, fast forward into 2021. So now we have this variety of disciplines that we offer. They are all bachelors of fine arts, which means that you will be making stuff with your hands. This is primarily a hands-on learning type of institution. And REMCAD is held to a high degree of accountability by NASAD, which is one of the accrediting bodies. NASAD stands for the National Association of School of Art and Design. Along with that, then we do require a portfolio for admission. Can you go to the next slide, please? So if you are artistically inclined, you are a creative individual, by all means, inquire with REMCAD. You could tell us your story during the admissions interview, and we will tell you our story in return. One of the things we will include will be some of the areas of requirement, which are a portfolio. Your portfolio would be a collection of 10 to 15 pieces. And that's some of the stuff that we'll talk about in just a moment after we're done introducing our institutions. I do want to preface that when we say we're looking for a portfolio, I think a lot of students do put a lot of pressure on themselves. But I think one of the things that's important is for REMCAD, we are just trying to get to know you better. We know that you want to become a better artist and designer. And so we don't expect you to be there yet. But we do want to see the range of your artistic sensibilities at this point. If you could go to the next slide. To help you, I will be hosting a virtual event this Thursday, October 7th at 4 p.m. Go ahead and put your phone up to the QR code to scan this. This will bring you to registering for a Zoom event. And this will get a little bit more into developing your portfolio and some of the stuff that we can't get into total detail with today. But we will certainly give you a high level overview on portfolio prep with you today. If you could go down to the next slide. And then if you are ready to request info from REMCAD, you could also scan this QR code, or you could always run to remcad.edu. You can request info there, or you can apply. And then if we go to the next slide, you could go ahead and take a picture of this slide. This is going to be where you can find our Instagram handle. Seeing examples of the student artwork of the college you're interested in is going to be a great experience. So if you go to remcad.edu's website, you could see examples of student work there, but you could also see great examples on Instagram as well. And now I will pass it over to my colleague Maddie to introduce MCAD.
Hi there. So I work for the Minneapolis College of Art and Design. I am the admissions counselor for all undergrads seeking students in Colorado. So I'll likely be working with many of you. We are located in Minneapolis, Minnesota, about a mile away from uptown and downtown Minneapolis. And we offer an array of different sorts of areas of focus too. They are all pretty much visual arts based. And so we do have a visual arts portfolio that we do require. But yeah, we range from anywhere from comic art to product design and furniture design. We have a lot of sort of unique majors here offered at MCAD. So we are going to ask you for 12 to 20 pieces of your best work. That does not need to be specific to the area of artwork that you are interested in pursuing. So for example, if you wanted to be an animation major at MCAD, you wouldn't have to show me animation to get into that program. Show me the best work that you're making currently, whether that is sculpture or photography or drawing. And then know that you'll just be able to study that thing that you want to pursue once you're a student at MCAD. We do have 4 specific pieces that we want to see. One of which needs to be drawn from observation, meaning that that piece that you're drawing is sitting in front of you and you're drawing it from life, not that you're tracing over a photo of an existing arrangement of something. We're going to go over a little bit on some tips on how to do observational drawing here at the very end. But here are some examples of student work in those 4 areas that MCAD wants to see. So we do want to see a self-portrait, which is just an expression of yourself. It does not have to be an exact depiction of your face. We could show your favorite objects again. You could show yourself as a cartoon character. It could be anything. A landscape piece, which doesn't have to be a sort of nature scene, but could be any sort of outside drawing that shows a foreground, middle ground, and background. An interior space, which is just a space within a space. It does, again, not have to be a specifically your bedroom. It could also be like the inside of a refrigerator, something like that. This is a good place to play with character too. So if you're to make your own original characters, a chance for you to sort of explore what their spaces might look like. And this, I apologize for the blurry images they converted wrong into our slides. And then we want to see a still life, which tends to be the easiest one to approach as an observational drawing. But again, observational drawing doesn't necessarily mean hyper realistic. I believe that these objects were truly in front of the student and they still have a super cartoony approach to them. And again, because these are blurry, it's hard to tell, but some of these are photographs too. So again, you can approach that still life any way you want to. And then I have this here just to talk a little bit about observational drawing in general, which, by the way, you guys are free to hop in on. For us at our school, we don't care what material you use for that observational drawing. It can be a painting, it can be made with charcoal, graphite, it can be drawn digitally, just as long as it's not traced.
Same with that RemCAD.
And then you also have this lovely example of something that a student said. So if you want to read that out loud.
Yes, I think that a lot of people, they, see drawing from observation and they have an idea of what that should look like. But I just wanted to bring back home that drawing from observation, it's not a skill that all of us are born with. And so we need to continuously practice to get better at it. And so here's a quote from Brittany, where she says that she was often intimidated by the outstanding artwork of her peers. Observational drawing has provided her the several tools to build upon her artistic confidence. And so really, the more we practice, the more we could feel like we're accomplished in what we're doing. And that's when our confidence can build. So go ahead and take a stab at that drawing from observation if you haven't yet. And if it doesn't turn out right the first time, just know that you can always do it better. And when you're looking at really good drawings, no, it wasn't their first drawing.
No, it was maybe their 20th or 50th or 100th drawing. Also, like if drawing a bunch of random objects is intimidating or boring for you, feel free to take stuff that you enjoy. Like what are like 7 items in your house that you think like are things you would like to show off? Like, do you have a creepy doll that you want to draw? Do you have like some teacups that you got at a garage sale once? Like pick up some stuff that you feel like is an extension of you and let that also be a self-portrait in itself.
Mm-hmm. Great advice. Because if you like the objects, then you'll have that curiosity to want to explore it visually in a 2D form. Mm-hmm. And then just wanted to let you all know that most art colleges are going to have you create an account in SlideRoom. And so you will be uploading all of your images into SlideRoom. You will need a limited amount of characters with it, which includes the title, the medium, and the completion date. Definitely check in with the institution that you're applying for their specific parameters in SlideRoom. And that is also paired with a statement of intent. So we want to see the visual examples of your art, but then we also want you to write something down. Definitely write it in another program like Word, and then correct it, typos, don't put any spelling or grammar errors, and then you will be uploading this PDF into SlideRoom. And so SlideRoom does not accept Google links, and so if you're writing it in your Google Drive, you would have to export it as a PDF. And basically your statement of intent with REMCAD is your why. So what's your story? What's your goal? Why do you think REMCAD would help you? It only needs to be a page. It does not need to be any more than that. So it's not rocket science. Just kind of tap into your genuine self and let the words flow out, and it should be okay. And, you know, get the grammar correction in that other app and you'll be good to go.
Yeah, and so I'm a little bit unfamiliar with how this works, just in case it doesn't. But in the chat, I did post a link on a video that we did here at MCAD on how to submit through SlideRoom. It should work for any school. And I'm not sure if you guys can see the link. The recording feature is telling me that you can't. So if you want it and it's not showing up for you, feel free to email me at msparrow@mcad.edu, and I'm happy to send you that link to give you a walkthrough on how to submit through SlideRoom. And yeah, like with the statement, we also require one. I feel like it's a great thing to like bring to a teacher, bring to a family member or a friend, and have them read through it first, just to make sure it doesn't have those grammatical errors. And remember that every school has maybe a different prompt for you, which means more writing. But make sure that you're not submitting the exact same statement of intent to every single school, and that it is customized to whatever prompt they asked for.
Right. Your story isn't going to change, right? You're you. So all you'll have to do is kind of surround it with the prompt from that institution that's asking you the question. So it shouldn't be too much to tweak your first version if another college has a different prompt. But, you know, I do want to also say that the process of building a portfolio is valuable, right? So one of the greatest gifts that you could give yourself is looking at all of your artwork all together. So oftentimes we're looking at what we're just working on and what we just finished. But if you go ahead and you get everything uploaded into a screen and you're looking at it as thumbnails as one image, or you have all of your artwork kind of scattered on your floor or surrounding you in your physical environment, I think that's super beneficial to understand some more about what you're saying, your vision, your repetitive mark making that you use. And I always feel like for a strong portfolio, you should take from your last piece and bring it into your next piece. And that way you're kind of keeping a consistent mark making or style going. And, you know, just the whole process of looking at your work and then writing down why you want to do this and kind of figuring out an order that works well too. The success that could come from, you know, building a portfolio and being able to show people what you do is kind of like a real quick elevator pitch where you're just able to showcase it and you don't need to speak for it, right? Great art does not need the artist standing next to it to explain what they were trying to say. And you know, all of us are at a point where when we're starting a new project, we are trying to say something. And when we develop that project, we are saying it, right? It's developed and now it's being said. And so that is when success comes from it. So, you know, when you're building this portfolio, it's going to help you focus on your thoughts and focus on your vision. And, you know, when you're applying for a college, we want to see your range, but there's going to be some focus in there too that you may not even be aware of. And so it's just a beautiful thing to look at your art and do this whole process. Just to read this quote real quick, REMCAD taught me to hustle. We were taught by experts working in the field who would tell us what it's really like out there. It helped me to focus on my portfolio because that's ultimately what I was going to leave with, right? So you apply to an art college with a portfolio and you're leaving with an outstanding portfolio. And yes, that's it.
Yeah, I think that all of that is really well said. And another thing to remember is that while we're talking specifically about a college admissions portfolio, in the art field, just in general, you need a portfolio. You need to have some place for people to look at your work if you're ever going to get a job not for yourself, basically, right? Someone's going to want to see your Instagram to see what kind of paintings you're making, or they're going to want to see your website to see what sort of stories you're presenting. And it's good to have that work in a place that you curated. And practicing with the admissions portfolio is a good opportunity to sort of practice those skills that you're going to definitely use later. And I think that was all well told.
And I think even too, like, let's say later on, you know, if you're job path changes or graduate school changes and you maybe don't end up going into the visual arts, just know that having a foundation in art can help you in so many things. One of our alums was an art major at Muhlenberg, but she's actually in a PhD program for psychology right now because she also did psych at Muhlenberg. But she feels like she is a better researcher because she was an art major, because she was able to think critically, because she could express herself, because she could communicate, because she could start with something, from scratch. And that's really how she was a good artist and a good researcher. So just know that art really expands to so many things.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't actually have a huge group in the chat today, but I do want to make sure that we pause on this. If you want to contact any of us about admissions for our school specifically, feel free to email us here. This has all of our contact info. And then I'm going to pause it so that you guys can turn off your mics and visuals so we can talk to you about your questions. One